Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we are now amidst a pretty decent heat wave for many, mostly for England and Wales, but decently warm conditions extending further northwards and westwards. Today temperatures have topped out at around 28 or 29 degrees, and for Tuesday it looks likely to eclipse that quite significantly. 31, 32 or maybe even 33 degrees could be the high. And for the rest of the working week, we are seeing the heat wave getting extended in the latest runs. As ever with these very hot air masses, sometimes the longer range runs do push them on quite quickly, and by the time we actually get to that hot air pushing in, it does hold on a little bit stronger. These high pressure systems can be a little bit more stubborn than initially modelled. So it does look like that hot air could hang around all the way to Thursday, Friday, or even Saturday, with temperatures looking likely to be in excess of 30 degrees at least somewhere every day of this working week. We are still likely to see some thunderstorms through Wednesday and Thursday, but they don't look quite as widespread as they did yesterday or the day before, but they do look pretty severe where they do take off. It looks like it's one of the cases where there's a lot of energy around. It's all about that trigger. If we do see that trigger, then it could be very lively indeed. But if that trigger never really comes and the thunderstorms stay more isolated, then it could remain hot for many still through Wednesday and Thursday. As we look into the longer range from the latest GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, as we get into early August after this week, it does look like we will return back towards average, but still looks possible that we keep warm or very warm conditions close by. As we'll see from the latest GFS, actually turns us back towards heatwave conditions again in around 10 days time. So it goes temporarily cooler for a few days for heatwave conditions return. Again, it hasn't got a lot of support, but it is still a plausible situation at this stage. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see for most it is very dry today. We've got a few bits of bobs of rain across parts of Scotland as a decaying weather front is slowly moving in, but anywhere to the south of this it is bone dry under higher pressure, and we are seeing very warm or hot conditions prevailing. Can see some thunderstorms across Spain and Portugal. This is instability moving in. As I said, this could head our way in the next couple of days, but for the time being, at least for the next 36 to 48 hours, it's bone dry and very warm, if not hot. We have officially exceeded heatwave levels in many areas today. Top temperature around the 29 degree range. You can see where the hot air is coming from, directly from our south through France, where here temperatures are into the mid-30s, and then into England and Wales, where temperatures widely today have been in the mid to high 20s, touching around 29 degrees in the top spots. I'm recording this around 8 p.m, and already temperatures are still up in the mid-20s, and for many it's not likely to drop much below maybe 18 or 19 degrees through this evening. Now, if you look at the top temperatures today, again, this isn't every single weather station, but this is the majority of them, and you can see the top temperature is around the 28 or 29 degree mark, likely to eclipse this by a good few degrees tomorrow. One thing to take note of is most of these areas have seen their top temperature around the 5 or 6 p.m. point, which normally is a good indicator that the air is heating up, that the hottest temperature at the surface is later on in the day. It means we are on an upwards trend, because generally the sun is at its strongest around 3 or 4 p.m. This gives the implication that the air mass is powering a lot of the heating as well, which does mean that the temperatures will likely rise, as I said, further into tomorrow. You can see the latest top temperatures are still around the 27 or 28 degree mark. It is going to drop away quite quickly in the next couple of hours, back down towards the high teens, but still just gives you an indication of how hot it has been today. We have seen a significant jump up in temperature, and it is going to last for the rest of the working week. Now, if we do over to the latest UKV and run through the precipitation quite quickly, as apart from the thunderstorms during the middle of the week, we're not likely to see much in the next 5 days. Now, after you run through this evening, a few showers around in northern Scotland, but they do decay away, and it's another very dry, hot day through Tuesday. As we head into Wednesday, another very dry, hot day. First rumblings of thunderstorms potentially across the far south of England, maybe the isolated cell breaking out, maybe a couple showers across the channel. But it's really Wednesday into Thursday where, look at that, very quickly in the space of 3 to 6 hours, we see lines of thunderstorms breaking out across England and Wales. Now, it was a little bit more widespread and a little bit more lively in the past couple of days. It has died down a little bit here, but still could be pretty severe through Thursday evening, and there could be further thundery showers developing through Thursday into Friday as well. So yeah, it could be very active in some places, just doesn't look quite as widespread as we were seeing yesterday. That continues in towards Friday and eventually towards weekend, where you can see the cooler areas pushing in. But prior to that, yes, cloud will come over, but it will still remain very warm, if not hot, before slowly the fresher, rainier conditions arrive for Saturday. If you look at the mixed level Cape, you can see the Cape rapidly rises through Wednesday into Thursday, and this is the main driver of those thunderstorms. Very high levels of Cape across England and Wales. Again, it's all about the trigger. This is the energy. This is here. It's abundant as we head through the middle part of the week, but it's all about whether we see that instability to really push those thunderstorms into action. The energy is there. We'll just have to wait and see. If you look at the air masses, you can see it is very hot through this week, widely mid to high teens. Again, that will equate to low 30s at the surface, and eventually you see the fresher conditions pushing in for Saturday into Sunday. But for Saturday, still could remain very warm in the far southeast, as we still just about hold on to that hot air. But by Sunday, it will be cooler for all. Now, as I said, max temperatures are actually extended throughout this week. We thought initially it'll be 30 degrees, maybe till Wednesday, before cooling down because of the thunderstorm outbreaks. But as I said, those thunderstorm outbreaks don't look quite as widespread, and it does look like we're going to hang on to that hotter air, which is kind of penetrating further inland than we initially anticipated, meaning the hotter, dry conditions could prevail for a little bit further. Now you can see as we head through this afternoon, 28 or 29 degrees, so fairly accurate from the UKV today. And then as we head into Tuesday, look at those temperatures skyrocketing in the southern and eastern quadrant, widely 30 degrees plus, locally 32, maybe even 33. As we head into Wednesday, we do see another very hot day. Temperatures might not be quite as high, but still looking likely to be 30 to 32. Again, maybe could nudge 33 in. It could be slightly higher depending on the exact positioning of cloud and the first initial thunderstorms. You can see the heat has transitioned slightly further westwards, which just gives you an indication that things could bubble up in the east, but we'll have to wait and see. The same could be said for Thursday, where again, could see very hot conditions locally, 29 to 31 being shown here. A little bit more sparse and dotted, these top temperatures, and that is because of the thunderstorms. If those do really break out, then it won't be anywhere near as hot as 30 degrees, more likely to be 23 to 25, but still feeling very muggy. But if they don't break out that much, then we could see these 30-degree temperatures more widespread, but still eclipsing 30 degrees somewhere here on Thursday. Friday, it turns a little bit more widespread again, widely high 20s in towards the low 30s, but with the heat starting to run out, it is starting to cool down, and you can see into Saturday, still looking very warm, widely low to mid 20s, just not quite as hot as the prior days. So yeah, looking pretty stunning indeed over the next 5 days. Heatwave conditions for many, especially England and Wales. Thunderstorms perhaps through the middle parts of the week. We'll have to keep a close eye on those. Still not seeing a lot of consistency from the models. We'll be able to have a look at the Orion run tomorrow, which should give us a much better indication. But at this stage, be aware of them, but no guarantees that they will occur. Now, do go over and have a look at the longer range now. As I said, if we start on the latest GFS, it does go hot once again in the longer term. You can see the high pressure in at the moment. That's giving us our hot heat wave conditions right now. And then we see some fresher westerly conditions arriving through the early parts of next week. But as we head in towards the end of next week, we see high pressure building into the south, and we see an extension of the Azores high, pushing in very hot southerly winds once again. A big ridge of heat building up from southern Europe, and you see it from the temperature deviation here, around 10 to 12 degrees above average. And again, if we do zoom in to the United Kingdom, look, we would likely see temperatures once again in excess of 30 degrees, maybe even higher than this, 32, 33, or even slightly higher, as the actual upper air temperature here are even higher than we're seeing at the moment, touching 19 or 18, 19 degrees across the far south. So it could be even hotter than what we're seeing at the moment. We'll have to keep a very close eye on this, but very interesting indeed, as again, it could push another pulse of heatwave conditions further northwards once again. If you look at the latest GM, again, heatwave conditions in for the rest of the week. Low pressure pushing in by the weekend, giving us fresher conditions, maybe unsettled conditions as well. And all the way to day 10, does look like we will see that extension of high pressure building back in, but still got a generally flat westerly flow, which means we'll kind of be oscillating between above average and below average air masses. So nothing too spectacular there. Finally, if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, high pressure building in at the moment, just refresh this to get all the way up to 240 hours. You can see westerly winds pushing in, and then eventually, as we head towards day 10, we do start to see some high pressure to our south, but still similar to the GEM, more of a westerly flow, that hot air keeping at bay towards the Mediterranean. So you can see the GM and the ECMWF do change us back to a more changeable pattern, slightly fresher and unsettled, whereas the GEFS tries to push in the heatwave conditions once again. The heatwave conditions we're seeing right now did come out of nowhere last week, really. There were hints of it, but no real massive modelling. It was this changeable pattern before we start to see the ridge across Europe strengthen. So again, I wouldn't rule it out as we enter the longer term. We are in quite an unpredictable period with these weather patterns. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think we'll see persistent heat waves throughout the rest of the summer, but I do think it is possible we see more spells of 4 or 5 days like we're seeing right now. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you can see we are reaching our peak upper air temperatures in the next sort of 24 to 36 hours, and then a slow drop back towards average at 850 HPA by the weekend. You can see there is a little peak there as we head towards the weekend start of next week. Again, that's most likely associated with a bit of a weather front pushing in, but generally we're holding around average into early August. You can see though, very hot from the GFS operational run there, getting us towards the 20 degree mark at 850 HPA, which would produce temperatures in the mid 30s, but it is in isolation there, and that's why I did show it to you and say it is unlikely to happen, but is a plausible solution. You can see precipitation is fairly moderate in the longer term, which gives us a good indication that it's going to be changeable, but nothing too bad at all. And if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, again, you can see reaching our peak temperatures at the moment, slowly dropping off through the rest of this week, and then hovering around average for the foreseeable future, but still plenty of very hot runs there appearing in the longer term, just no real consistency at this stage. As I said, it does look like heatwave conditions will be dominating the rest of this week. Thunderstorms at times, which turns cooler next week, but as we head into the following couple of weeks, as we head into the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks of summer, it does look like we could continue to see some spikes of heat. Very difficult to say exactly when they'll be and then their intensities, but from the looks of these runs, I do think it is pretty likely that we see some sort of heat spikes once again in the remaining period of August. We'll have to wait and see exactly how it does play out. But for the time being, make sure you stay safe outside and do, of course, look after all your loved ones, older people as well, as temperatures getting in excess of 30 degrees can be dangerous for dehydration and things like that. So do stay vigilant. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.